90% of the knots tied on this planet are the exact same clumsy overhand tangle. And it is the one knot every rigger, sailor, and arborist is specifically trained never to trust with anything that matters. Today I'm going to teach you the only 4 knots you will ever actually need. 4 knots that cover tying a loop that never slips, tightening a load like a machine, joining 2 ropes that refuse to come apart, and lashing anything to anything. And I am going to show you why the knot you have used your whole life quietly betrays you. Here's the collision that should bother you. People spend $25 on ratchet straps, another $15 on a tub of bungee cords, and a small fortune on those plastic tension gadgets, all to avoid learning 4 things you can do with a $5 length of rope that will outlast every one of those gadgets and never crack in the sun. 4 knots, 1 rope, 0 gadgets, and the rope does not care how cold it is or how long it has been in the garage. The 4th knot I am saving for the end is the one that multiplies your own strength by 3. An honest-to-goodness pulley made of nothing but rope. And once you can tie it, you will never strap a load down the hard way again. I have used these 4 for years, on canoes, on lumber, on a mattress that absolutely was not going to survive the highway otherwise, and I have quietly retired every bungee I own. So let me start with the knot you are getting wrong, because you almost certainly are. Picture the knot you tie to bundle something, or to join 2 pieces of string. You cross the ends, you go over and under, and then you do it again, over and under. You think you have tied a square knot. You have not. You have tied a granny knot, and the granny knot is a liar. The difference is the direction of that second cross. A true square knot crosses the same way both times and lies flat and locks. A granny knot crosses opposite ways, sits crooked, and slips under load. It slides, it loosens, it lets go right when weight comes onto it. Almost everyone ties the granny by default because getting the second cross right is a coin flip nobody ever taught you to win. That is the knot failing you in 1,000 tiny ways you have blamed on the rope. And here is the part that should really sting. Even a properly tied square knot is not meant to join 2 ropes. It is a binding knot for holding a bundle closed. Use it to tie 2 ropes together and put a load on it, and it capsizes. It flips itself into a completely different shape and rolls right off the ends. Sailors have known this for centuries. It is why the square knot has no business in the 4 you actually need. So let us throw it out and build you a set that does not lie. Knot 1 is the bowline, and it is the king. The bowline puts a fixed loop at the end of your rope. A loop that will not slip, will not shrink, will not tighten down on whatever is inside it, no matter how hard you pull. You make a small loop, the rabbit comes up out of the hole, around the tree and back down the hole. That is the old rhyme, and it works because your hands remember a story better than they remember a diagram. Why does it matter? Because the loops most people tie are slip knots in disguise. Put weight on them and they cinch down like a noose, crushing whatever they are around and jamming so tight you have to cut the rope to free it. The bowline holds a perfect open loop under a ton of strain, and then unties with a single push of your thumb, even after it has been loaded hard. It is the knot you throw to someone, the knot you hang a load from, the knot you tie around your own waist if it ever comes to that. Strong, unslipping, and it never jams. 1 knot, and half your rope problems are gone. Knot 2 is the 2 half hitches, and this is your workhorse for tying a rope to a fixed thing, a post, a ring, a bumper, a tree. You wrap around the object, then tie 2 simple hitches around the standing line, and you are locked on. The magic is that it holds under a steady pull, but you can still break it loose by hand when you are done. It is the knot for staking a tent, tying off a tarp, securing a dog line, hanging a bag in a tree away from the raccoons who have opinions about your food. 2 half hitches gets a rope firmly attached to the world, fast, and lets go when you ask nicely. If you have made it this far, you are the kind of person who would rather learn the thing once than buy the plastic version of it 4 times. My kind of person. Subscribing is free and it genuinely keeps these going. And if you want to go deeper, members get the extended breakdowns and the bonus builds I keep off the public feed. That is the whole ask, and it took less time than tying a granny knot wrong. Now the 3rd knot, because this is where joining ropes finally gets done right. Knot 3 is the sheet bend, and it fixes the exact thing the square knot fails at, joining 2 separate ropes into 1 longer rope. Here is the mechanism that makes it special. The sheet bend works even when the 2 ropes are different thicknesses. A thin cord and a thick rope, a paracord and a garden line. The square knot would roll right off that mismatch, but the sheet bend grips harder the more you pull, because the thinner rope locks itself against a bend in the thicker one. You make a bite in the fat rope, thread the skinny rope up through it, around the back, and tuck it under itself. But that is it. You need 40 feet of rope, and you only have two 20-foot pieces. Sheep bin. Now you have one rope that holds, and you did not buy a new one. Knot 4 is the one I have been promising, and it is the closest thing to a superpower in this whole video, the trucker's hitch. This knot is a pulley, not a metaphor, an actual mechanical advantage system made of rope. You tie a loop in the middle of your line, run the working end around your anchor point, then back up through that loop and pull. That loop acts as a turning point, and it gives you roughly a 3-to-1 advantage on the tension, meaning every pound you pull comes down as about 3 pounds of holding force on the load. You cinch it bar tight, lock it off with a couple of half hitches, and your cargo is not going anywhere. This is how you strap a canoe to a roof, flatten a load of lumber, or lash a mattress down so hard the highway cannot argue with it. With $5 of rope instead of $25 of ratchet straps that seize up, freeze, and snap their little teeth off after 2 winters. The trucker's hitch does not have teeth to break. It is just physics, and physics does not rust. Now let me clear out the rest of the myths, because rope is buried in them. Myth 1. More wraps and more knots make it more secure. The opposite is true. A pile of extra knots just creates a jammed mess you will be sawing through later, and every unnecessary twist actually chews into the rope's strength. Myth 2, and this one surprises people. The knot itself weakens your rope. A knot introduces a tight bend where fibers pinch against each other, and depending on the knot, you lose anywhere from 20 to 50% of the rope's rated strength right at that spot. That is not a reason to avoid knots. It is a reason to tie good ones, because the bowline is one of the strongest, and the granny is one of the worst. Myth 3, any knot will do if you just pull it tight enough. Tightness is not the same as security. The granny knot is often pulled brutally tight, and it still slips, because slipping is built into its geometry, not its snugness. And myth 4, modern gadgets are simply better than old knots. A ratchet strap is convenient, right? Up until it is frozen shut, sun-rotted, or missing the ratchet you lost last spring. The knot works in the dark, in the cold, with numb fingers, and it has worked for 1,000 years. There's something a little funny about spending money to replace a skill that weighs nothing and never wears out. So the real math is this. $5 of decent rope and 4 knots replaces a drawer full of straps, bungees, and tension gadgets that cost you $50, $60 over a few years and end up brittle in a landfill. But the bigger payoff is the load that does not shift, the canoe that stays on the roof, the tarp that survives the storm, the quiet confidence of knowing the thing you tie down is going to be there when you arrive. Go grab a shoelace or any bit of cord within arm's reach right now and tie a bowline while it is fresh. 15 minutes of practice on the couch tonight, and these 4 live in your hands for the rest of your life. Take care, and I will see you in the next one.